6:45 a.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by J. Yogaraj and read by Mario Vijayavardhana. The headlines. The Kankasanture cement factory to resume its operations shortly. The Prime Minister also declared open the economic centre in Chavakacheri yesterday. The government has planned to set up 2.2 million home gardens countrywide early next month. Interruptions to the power supply scheduled for today. The water levels of the Mausakale reservoir have dropped drastically. A red alert issued for the cyclonic storm in the Bay of Bengal. In news overseas, in Mariupol, children bear the brunt of Vladimir Putin's war. In sports news, Barcelona boss Xavi will not rule out a remarkable late push for the La Liga title. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa had an observation visit to the Kankasanture cement factory yesterday. The Prime Minister had closely observed the current situation of the factory. The factory is the oldest cement plant in the island which had started its operations in 1950. However, it closed its operations during the LTTE insurgency period. The government has planned to resume operations before the year end. It is reported that 80% of the damaged buildings of the site can be renovated and utilized for the factory uses. State Resources and Enterprise Development Ministry Secretary Dr. Willy Gamage said the resumption of operations will be carried out under the program to revive state ventures. He said the demand for cement in Sri Lanka is increasing rapidly due to new infrastructure projects launched by the government and the private sector in the conflict-affected areas in the north and the east. The new housing development program also needs cement in large quantities, he added. After the observation visit to the cement factory, the Prime Minister also paid homage at the Madipuram Kandasamy Kovil. The Prime Minister also declared open the economic centre in Chavakacheri yesterday. The centre was constructed at a cost of 200 million rupees and has 20 sales outlets. The government has planned to set up 2.2 million home gardens countrywide early next month. The program will be launched under the Program for a Green Country. It will cover all the Grama Lidadari divisions in the island. State Minister Shehan Semasinghe said almost 12,912 low-income Samurdhi families are now entrusted with free quality fruits and vegetable plants to set up nurseries to grow the plants. He said 401 million rupees would be invested on the food growing project on the instructions of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka, PUCSL, has approved the Ceylon Electricity Board's request for power interruptions for today. Thereby, the areas listed under groups A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K and L will experience power cuts of 3 hours and 20 minutes between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. The aforementioned areas will again experience power outages of 1 hour and 40 minutes between 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. Meanwhile, the electricity supply for the areas mentioned under groups P, Q, R, S, T, U, V and W will be interrupted for a period of 2 hours and 40 minutes between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. These areas will experience nighttime power cuts for 1 hour and 50 minutes between 5 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The low-pressure area over the southeast Bay of Bengal has concentrated into a depression and lay centred at 8:30 a.m. today over southeast Bay of Bengal and the adjoining South Andaman Sea near the latitude 10.1 N and the longitude 92.6 E. It is likely to move nearly northwards and intensify into a deep depression by 5:30 a.m. tomorrow and into a cyclonic storm on the same day. There can be very heavy showers or thunder showers, strong winds of up to 45 to 55 kilometers per hour, gusting up to 60 to 70 kilometers per hour, associated with very rough seas over the aforementioned sea areas. Naval and fishing communities are advised not to venture into the east and the southeast Bay of Bengal sea areas bounded by 07N to 13N and 90E to 97E until further notice. Those who are out at the aforementioned sea regions are advised to return to their coasts or move to safer areas immediately. Fishing and naval communities are requested to be attentive on future forecasts issued by the Met Department in this regard. The Commissioner General of Education Publications, G.N. Ilaperuma, says 92% of school textbooks needed for the new school term have been distributed at present. The new term will begin on the first week of next month. 32.5 million textbooks of 402 varieties will be distributed to students this year. The Commissioner General said, however, there will be a slight delay in distributing the textbooks that are still in the printing process.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The water levels of the Mausakale reservoir have dropped drastically. The reservoir engineer said the water level of the reservoir has now denoted 57 feet. By this morning, it is reported that the reservoir is used for running hydropower stations in the Lakshapana, New Lakshapana and the Polpitia powerhouses. Meanwhile, industry officials say until rains return to fill the hydro reservoirs, there have to be power cuts even if all the thermal plants are running in the island.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Watch Life is brought to you by
More prizes, more gains with CIB New Year offers. Valuable gifts for every bill. 20% discount for bank cards until 10th of April. Visit CIB today.
The health sector points out that unnecessary gatherings should be minimized during the festive season. The director of the Colombo Lady Ridgeway Hospital, Dr. S. Vijay Surya, said that if the people follow the health guidelines further, a risk of the recreation of another corona wave can be prevented. He requests the public to adhere to the health guidelines strictly during the festive season.
More prizes, more gains with CIB New Year offers. Valuable gifts for every bill. 20% discount for bank cards until 10th of April. Visit CIB today.
World News, brought to you by courtesy of
No matter what anyone says, for your lease, visit the Leasing Mahagedara. People's Leasing, friendly leasing Mahagedara. More information from the nearest People's Leasing branch.
People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
In world news headlines, in Mariupol, children bear the brunt of Vladimir Putin's war. French elections, Putin's war gives Macron boost in presidential race. Slovenian diplomats to return to Kiev. Hundreds of people have been evacuated in Mariupol. Their physical wounds are obvious and may to an extent heal. The psychological trauma will live with them forever. Doctors and the children's surviving relatives asked the media journalists to tell their stories, among them Dr. Yuri Burzenko, head of the children's hospital. He can't hide his contempt for what Russia has done. Russia's war in Ukraine has shaken up next month's French presidential elections, and it is as plain as day that the main beneficiary is the man already sitting in the Élysée. Thanks to a mediocre opposition, goodish economic news and the decline of COVID, Emmanuel Macron was already the strong favorite even before Russia invaded. But what's happened in the last month makes his re-election seem almost inevitable. Slovenian Prime Minister Janez Janša has announced that previously evacuated embassy staff will be returning to Kiev. In a tweet on Sunday, Janša said that the returning diplomats are volunteers. Quote, "We are working to make the EU do the same," unquote. He added, "Ukraine needs diplomatic support." On 15th of March, Janša, along with the Czech Prime Minister Petr Fiala and the Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki, visited Kiev and met with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. And now the main points of the world news segment once again. In Mariupol, children bear the brunt of Vladimir Putin's war. French elections, Putin's war gives Macron boost in presidential race. Slovenian diplomats to return to Kiev.
World News, brought to you by courtesy of
For your wheel lease, visit the Leasing Mahagedara. People's Leasing, friendly leasing Mahagedara. More information from the nearest People's Leasing branch.
People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
Development News is brought to you by Let's take coal out of the coconut tree and make the island thriving and prosperous. Call our hotline 1928. WhatsApp 070 400 1928.
The Ambilipitia paper factory has recommenced its operations. An MOU in this regard was signed recently between the National Paper Corporation and the Korean Packaging Private Limited. According to the MOU, the Korean company will invest around 3,500 million rupees on this venture.
Development News was brought to you by the coconut tree is well grown in almost all the parts of the island. It is an exceptional source of extra income. The shell, the husk and almost all the parts of the coconut tree makes you money, providing you with an excellent extra source of income. It will also help to nourish the economy of the country. You will be guided with all necessary informations regarding the coconut cultivation, with the novel cultivation techniques and all other related and upgraded informations by the Coconut Research Institute, Lunavilla. Call our hotline 1928. WhatsApp 070 400 1928.
Sports News is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
In soccer news, Barcelona boss Xavi will not rule out a remarkable late push for the La Liga title after his side's thrashing of runaway leaders Real Madrid in a statement win at the Bernabeu. Real, who had won the previous 5 Clásicos, are 9 points clear of Sevilla with 9 matches to go, with third-placed Barcelona a further 3 behind with a game in hand. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang scored twice on his Clásico debut and set up Ferran Torres.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The Tourism Minister Prasanna Ranatunga said that the original plan of the Pasikuda tourist zone will be updated in 3 months. If the investors do not utilize the lands that were earlier allotted for the construction of hotels in this zone, their lands will be reclaimed by the government and given over to new investors who are keen to enter the region and invest. The Pasikuda beach is one of the most beautiful beaches in the world, and this asset was discovered and developed as a major 156-acre tourism zone by the then Minister of Tourism and Economic Development, Basil Rajapaksa, around a decade ago. Subsequently, 12 new star-class hotels owned by both locals and foreigners were built during this period.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
And now in economic news, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka is now in the process of developing a green finance taxonomy that will provide the framework for investment analysis for the banking sector when funding green projects. Sri Lanka has already recognized that carbon-intensive economic growth is no longer a route for sustainable development and is gradually shifting towards more low-carbon energy sources, CBSL Deputy Governor K.M.M. Sirivardhana told an expert panel discussion held on achieving low-carbon development targets in the power sector.
The Weather Report.
The Met Department says showers or thundershowers will occur at several places in the Sabaragamuwa, Central, Uva, Western and the Southern provinces during the evening or night. Fairly heavy showers above 50 millimeters can be expected at some places in these areas. Mainly fair weather will prevail elsewhere. The general public is kindly requested to take adequate precautions to minimize the damages caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during the thunder showers. This weather report was issued this morning at 5:30 a.m. Further details could be obtained by visiting the official website of the department. Meanwhile, the international weather forecast website AccuWeather.com reports that the day's weather will be bright with occasional showers. Today's daytime temperature would be around 31 degrees Celsius. There will be light showers in many places in the Colombo district in the night. Tonight's temperature will be around 24 degrees Celsius and there will be scattered showers in select spots late in the night. The ground temperature would be 24 degrees Celsius at the time of this news broadcast. The air quality index AQI is 28, which shows a fair condition in Colombo. The air quality is generally acceptable for most individuals. However, sensitive groups may experience minor to moderate symptoms from long-term exposure. That was the weather report, and now the headlines of this news broadcast once again. The Kankasanture cement factory to resume its operations shortly. The Prime Minister also declared open the economic centre in Chavakacheri yesterday. The government has planned to set up 2.2 million home gardens countrywide early next month. Interruptions to the power supply scheduled for today. the water level of the Mausakala Reservoir have dropped drastically. A red alert issued for the cyclonic storm in the Bay of Bengal. In news overseas, in Mariupol, children bear the brunt of Vladimir Putin's war. In sports news, Barcelona boss Xavi will not rule out a remarkable late push for the La Liga title. That concludes this news broadcast, and now it's back to Amanda